Hi, this is room 112. It's day 33. We're here. We're going to continue to be here, and everything's okay. Our sons are out. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Christian, Miss Diane and myself want to say, hey, we're thinking about you, and we hope everything's okay. It's a sunny afternoon, a few clouds in the sky, but it's pretty nice outside. It's supposed to warm up here in the next couple days. It's going to be in the 80s, so it's going to be a great day. A great day for what? You say, Mike, are you going inside to do our lessons? No. Our lessons are going to be outside today. We're going to talk about yard care. A lot of people are working in the yard, planting their flowers, getting their gardens ready. You look outside and you see our yard is a little bit looking weak. A lot of dandelions are there. Some weeds are there. The ground is kind of sparse. We need to get ready for the grass. And that's what's bringing us to our lesson. As you remember what we talked about the other day, we're talking about, doing our weed and feed. So let's get outside here to the backyard and see what we need to do. Now, a lot of people, Mr. Schroeder, a lot of people say, why do we need to learn this math? Why do we need to learn chemistry? Why do we need to do these things? This is why, when it's the life stuff, this is why you need to do it. So here I have a weed and feed from Menards, and they talk about on the back side it covers. Let's do it outside here. Do it right. Covers 15,000 square feet. Now, if you didn't know how to figure out square feet, you didn't know, do I need one bag or do I need two bags? This is why you need to know your math. Square feet. When you calculate how much yard you need, you take the length times the width, and that equals the total square feet. Now, when you're doing a yard, you don't count this sidewalk, you don't cover the concrete, you only talk about how much is in the grass. So we have to figure out the length times the width, and we figure out our square feet. Now, the science teachers, Mrs. Swanson and Mr. Hodgkiss and all the other science teachers will say, Mike, this is why you need to know science. This number, 2803, tells you how much nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus that there's in this. And you want a higher number. You want 2803 is a pretty standard number for how much nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium you're putting in your yard. Now, science, you're also talking about, when you're studying science, you're talking botany. And botany is the study of plants. So when you talk about here, and this is a whole different lesson, you need to know where's your, what kind of plants you have in the yard. When you're talking your grass, we got some clover in here, we got some crabgrass in here, we have some broadleaf in here. We have some dandelions in here. All right, there's another example of a weed. So you need to know your botany, you need to know your plants to figure out what kind of weeds you have. And this weed and feed right here kills over 200 weeds. So they have them in here. The other thing is you need to know is that you can't put in there, you can't apply this in temperature that's above 80 degrees, really. So you need to know what the temperatures. You're going to need to know some meteorology and know what the temperature is going to be out. And you need to do it in the morning when there's still some dew in the grass. DEW, so that's dew, a little bit of wetness. And there's it kills over 200 broadleaf, kills dandelions and clovers, controls the crabgrass in there. They also talk about why do you need to do reading? Well, because there's some first aid instructions that if you get it in your eyes, if you swallow it, I don't know why you would swallow it, if it's on clothing, you need to know the safety precautions. Whenever you're working with chemicals, you need to know the safety precautions ahead of time. The other thing is that we're here by the concrete and the sidewalk. If you spread this out and it gets onto the concrete, it'll stain your concrete. So you need to know ahead of time what equipment will I need. And we'll need a blower. All right, so you'll need a blower out there. You'll need some earplugs, some PPE, some earplugs, some goggles. The other thing is that when they talk about when you're in English, they say, well, you need a graphic organizer to plan your reading and plan your writing. Well, when you're doing a weed and feed, you need to have a plan of attack. First of all, you're going to go on the outside. When you see us tomorrow, you're going to be going on the outside. Then you start down the center, and you work your way in there so you don't repeat yourself. You don't step on it afterwards. You want to maintain a consistent speed. That's where your gym would come, your PE would come in there, where you're walking at a consistent speed. You're not getting all tired at the end or going really fast at the beginning and then slow down. So you wanna have a consistent speed, and you want to have a plan of attack. There's your plan of attack. You're going to the outside, the borders first, and then you're cutting it down the center. And then, like you see in the arrows, you're following that diagram. All right? We're applying this in the early spring. What's going to happen, and there's the thing in science. You're talking pre-emergent versus post-emergent. So you're learning in your English class your prefaces of what does pre versus post mean. So now this is a post-emergent. So what that's saying is that it's already out. You're going to apply this on there. It's going to be thick. When we see it actually coming out there, it's going to be thick crystals. And they're going to attach here. They're going to they're going to attach to the leaves and then work their way down to the roots. Okay? So it's already up. It's going to come down there. It's going to kill it from the roots. You'll see these weeds curling up and dying. And then they'll just die there. So that's what a post-emergent. We would have done this a little bit early. Pre-emergent stops them from ever coming up. They're already out here now. What are you going to do about it? That's why we're using a post-emergent. We're killing the weeds after they appear. You see my whole yard filled with weeds. Now I have to use a post-emergent. Okay, so that's why you need to know the difference between pre and post. Easy way to do it. Before you watch a baseball game, it's pre-game. But my wife wants me to cook supper. I hit the oven to 425. It goes 100, 200, 300, warms up. I preheat it before I start cooking. I don't put in the meat or I don't put in the main dish until it gets to 400. That's preheat. Post means afterwards, like the post game. You're going to go to the locker room. You're interviewing the sports players. They won, they lost, they're happy, they're sad. Post means after the event. After the game, you have the post-game interviews. So in this case, the weeds are already up. Now we're going to put a post-emergent. Now, my friend who's a beekeeper, she's like, Mike, you really should not do anything with the dandelions. The flowers are not up. My wife we're not going to show her yet, but she's planting the flowers now. So what are the bees having? They've already used up their brood. They're starting to float around. They're starting to get hungry. They've come out of their hive. They use the dandelions for them early source of food. It's like going to McDonald's for them. They're going and they're getting their food early ahead of time. And so that's why you really don't want to kill the dandelions. You don't want to apply stuff because you don't want to hurt the bees. They need that food ahead of time. So before early history, people ate dandelions. We could have a whole episode on dandelions because we used to put them on salads. They used them for the drink. But nowadays, in our modern society, they're declared a weed. What are some of the equipment? Safety first. The Girl Scouts would always say safety first. So we're going to have a pair of gloves. We're going to have goggles on. We're going to have the PPE of the earplugs for when we use the blower. My wife would say, Mike, do not tell your class to get a knife out. So you would use scissors. You need your spreader. You're going to need to know, you read the directions ahead of time, and we know that we put our setting for the kind we have at 1.5. So we have the setting ahead of 1.5. That's why, again, that reading comprehension is an important skill. We have the hose out. We're going to do this in the morning. They say the best time to do this in the morning. We have our spreader. So that's going to spread out the weed and feed. And like I said, the hose is ready for tomorrow, or when we're doing this. We're going to do it in the morning. There's not dew, D-E-W, on the ground. We're going to lightly water with so it's moist and it allows it to soak in with the hose. So just some preliminary things about our weed and feed on today. Knowing why you need to do math, why you need to know your science, why you need to know your reading, why sometimes your teachers tell you to have a plan of attack, because in real life, this is what you need. So just kind of why do we actually do these things? Why does Mr. Schroeder and the math teachers teach you about area and perimeter? Because this is why you figure out how much of a lawn product you need, or if we have fencing, how much fencing that you need around the edge of your house. So anyway, that's just talking about getting ready for our weed and feed. We're on day 33. We're here. We're going to continue to be here, and I hope everything's okay. All right, stay tuned tomorrow when we actually weed and feed the yard. I know you'll be waiting for it. All right, bye-bye.